cameras are going. Shit, does he look crooked again? That's fine. All right. You look good. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. For sure.
God, I had to drag that compliment out of you.
You ever get the feeling that everything in America is completely fucked up? You know that feeling that the whole country is like 1 inch away from saying, that's it, forget it. Let's see,
They
we're
twist
on,
around. Now look, here's a
92
house full of
FM
bees.
tonight. It feels like
You think the
nice
honey
cool
badger
little
cares?
band
It doesn't
so
give a
far.
shit.
Listen, let's get one thing straight.
Price is right.
Guns don't kill people. I do.
Wow. Thanks for that, Bill. For actually giving a real answer to a question.
To stand up and proudly say, God bless America, God bless the Bill of Rights, and thank God for Fifth Amendment. I'm not ashamed to say I'm proud of the Fifth Amendment. And I'm proud to admit on camera and on camera that I will never take a police officer
I think some apologies are in order.
I got to say, listening to Caribbean Blue by Enya while watching footage of like Waco and 9/11
Drone
it's
strikes.
quite the mindfuck.
I know.
Yeah, that's a little. I liked it.
Yeah. Remember that time when...
Oh, yeah. So, first off, I got a guest.
Yes.
Ryan Houston,
Happy to be here.
Muay Thai coach from NorCal Fighting Alliance.
Yeah, stoked to be here. Thank you guys for having
All
me.
around
Yeah,
good
man.
dude.
Stoked to have you.
And he just told us that he's not really informed and everything, so we're going to fill his brain for our whole special brand of wingnutism.
Yeah, I'm down.
You're going to leave
all
here
ears.
changed, man.
I'm all ears.
Not for the better.
So I think we should tell Ryan the Enya story because there's a point of he switches up the music for every episode.
Oh, awesome.
Right?
Okay.
So that's why you saw me start cracking up as soon as that song came on.
It was fitting. I liked it.
Yeah. So what had happened is I was living in San Francisco, and then my life had basically bottomed out. It came out of a long-term relationship. Decided to start all over. I moved into Kelly's backyard. He had an Airstream trailer.
Nice.
And it had an old school cassette deck in there. And I had nothing. I brought up my surfboards and my tools, and like that was it. And I started thinking, I was like, it'd be nice to listen to some music. So I walked down to the nearest thrift store, and they had 2 tapes, Leonard Skinner Live and Shepherd Moon by Enya. And so I was like, well, I guess this is what I'm listening to. And I'd like back to back, just listen to those tapes back to back.
Yeah.
And then, how did you find out it was Enya? You came out there and I was like listening to Enya.
I could hear it loud. I'm like, dude, are you listening to Enya right now? You're like, what? Like, this is good music.
That's all I had.
It's also the only tape I have.
I mean, it is good music. I actually really like Enya.
It's a jam.
Dude, I wonder what it'd be like if we just listened to Enya one day at the gym. Like, just
Hijack
rolling
stereo.
Yeah.
I think it'd be
Enya
awesome.
for a whole session.
I used to go to the jiu-jitsu morning class, and this guy was running it. And I went in there, and he put on Pantera. And I'm a huge death metal fan, but it was just too much. I was like, hey, we're not really lacking in aggression in here.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
We mellowed out the music.
Now, you'd think they would go together, but
No.
yeah, I could see that not
It's
working.
just got like this tap out vibe. It's like,
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
not too cool.
So, anyways, Matt had this. So I called Matt and I left a voicemail.
I was on tour, so I'd come home for like 3 weeks and then leave for tour.
Oh,
It was just
okay.
like, didn't hang out. All I did was just stay in this trailer or I was gone, like out of town.
Yeah.
And then he decided to call me.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, Matthew McKenzie, this is Bill Ferguson from the Santa Rosa Fire Department. Turns out, looks like the place that you've been living in caught fire and burned to the ground. We sourced the source of the fire to be the tape deck. There seemed to be a Enya tape stuck in the tape deck. And it froze up and caught fire, so...
So
That's
you might want to give us a call. I can understand. You might want to keep this under wraps.
Yeah, we'll keep this.
That's hilarious.
Let's get out.
And that was the same song from the tape that was in the intro.
Yes.
Oh, awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
I like it.
That's the hit.
Mm.
Well, was that the hit
Or Sail Away.
Yes, Sail Away.
I mean, I don't know any other Enya songs. Why you ask me?
Now you, as our resident Enya expert, I figure you'd know. So, how was the fight last night? You went and cornered for a fighter out of our gym, Dom.
Yeah, Dominic Duharm Ducharme. It was good.
That's a
It was
sweet
good.
nickname.
A lot of times with fight shows, they drag on a bit.
Yeah.
They're always behind schedule.
Mhm.
So I was happy to have him get in and get out real quick, and we could kind of enjoy the night.
Nice.
He was supposed to be the third fight on the card,
Mm-hmm.
but it's always something, you know what I mean? And they pushed him forward to the second. So we had a bit of a rush getting his hands wrapped and getting him warmed up. We didn't have much time. And we were working backstage basically exactly what he did in the fight. And it made me super proud.
Oh, no way.
Like you
Yeah.
planned out the fight.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
So you're saying you get the credit?
No. No. Dom went out there and did his thing. But it's just we were able to expose some holes in his game and
Nice.
just drill it a little bit backstage, and it came to
Just from watching
fruition.
film on the guy.
Yeah, he had sent me a film 2 days prior to the fight, and then I kind of looked it over, took some notes.
Nice.
I would almost, if I was getting ready for a fight, I would so much rather be rushed than
Yeah.
have a ton of time to think about it.
Yeah.
Oh, you're up next. Like, what? Fuck. Okay, let's go. Like
Mhm.
that would be ideal. So if you guys are ever cornering for me in a fight, just don't tell me when it starts.
Okay.
Lie to me.
Gotcha.
And then, yeah.
Don't tell me. Tell your coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, sorry.
That's how it is too.
If I'm your coach, we got some problems.
It's always easier to fight on the beginning of the card.
If I'm in a fight, then we already have problems. Problems are stacking up.
So I know some fighters that they go out of their way. It's like, I don't want to know who I'm fighting. I'm just not going to pay attention to it. He's like, because at the end of the day, like, what's the difference?
Yeah.
Then I know other guys, like, they want to see tape and they want to do as much homework as they can. And like, what is this guy? Is he a ground guy? Is he a boxer? Is he a wrestler? Or what,
I think it's better to film study a little bit.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they might be confident in their own game and not worry about it.
Yeah.
But you want to have as many advantages as you can going in there.
Yeah, and to be fair, there's a bit of a caveat. One of the people that said, like, I don't care who I'm fighting and doing with luck is a genuine, like, psychopath.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
one of the craziest people I know. So
And it takes a little bit of that
Yeah.
to fight. In Thailand, we would ask our coaches like who we're fighting sometimes.
mm-hmm.
Same you, man. Like they wouldn't really give you too much.
Yeah.
And it depends. I think with MMA it's a little bit different. There's a lot more
More
to
dynamic.
MMA. Yeah.
Right.
It's not as straightforward. So there's a lot more you have to train for and prepare for.
Mhm.
With Muay Thai, it's a little less of that. It's just
Mhm.
striking. I always like to study my guys.
Yeah.
I would too.
Going back to what you said about not having much time, I feel better having short notice fights as well. For me, I get into my own head a little bit, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
if it's short notice, you don't have that much time to you
Right.
know, fill your head with doubt, you know?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I could see that being an advantage. So he beat him in like 30 seconds?
He did, yeah.
God.
He looked clean, just kept it sharp. They had a few exchanges on the feet, and like I said, we noticed the guy was really open when he'd throw his jab, his left jab. His chin was kind of up, his right hand's down, and he was able to kind of cut an angle off the side, get off the center line, and fire his left hand, right hook. The guy dropped. He pounced on him, established control and half guard, I think, and just rained down some shots, and that was it.
I can't think of a lot of people that Dom would have a problem with on the ground.
No.
guy's a freak of nature.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've only rolled with him a few times,
Yeah.
but it's harsh, you know. He's got it, you know.
It's painful rolling with him.
It's not fun.
No.
Yeah, no, he's good. I'm very proud of him. You know, just keep moving forward, growing a little bit each fight. It's good.
Yeah. He has not lost a fight, right?
No, he's 4-0. He's
kind of
undefeated
plowing
right now.
through everyone.
Yeah, yeah.
Sky's the limit with that guy, right?
It is. Yeah. He's got some
Crazy.
big plans, so I'm excited for him.
fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Happy to be a part of it.
So as the coach, did you work primarily with his like striking and stuff, or were you kind of,
Yeah.
or were you kind of all around?
So no, I just work the striking with them. I leave
Gotcha.
the grappling to the other side of the gym. You
Okay,
know,
gotcha.
they've got that covered. Yeah, we just work striking, keep it nice and simple. That's my outlook on MMA is just capitalize on their openings, you know, and just use what works. You
Yeah.
know, high percentage is always better. You know.
So one of the reasons that we had talked about, we were kind of been bouncing back and forth about doing guests or not, and then when we started talking about it, we were throwing around people that, that we thought would be interesting to kind of crack that egg. And then your name came up because you have such an interesting fight story in that your journey started when you were what, like 6, like extremely young, right?
Yeah, like.
I remember talking to you. You're like, I remember at this age, decided like this is what I want to do.
Yeah. So my biological father fought professionally, and my stepdad did as well. So it's been a part of my life since I can remember. I don't remember fighting never being in my life.
Yeah.
I didn't really get into training until I was maybe 13 or 14, and at that point I kind of knew that this is what I want to do. I would rearrange my living room and make it look like an octagon and shadow box and just visualize and think about it and I trained.
What'd you start out with?
I started out with jiu-jitsu and boxing.
Okay.
My stepdad was a really good jiu-jitsu guy, and he taught at a local boxing gym, and the way the schedule was set up, he would teach before boxing. So I would ride with him after school, do his jiu-jitsu class, and then stick around for boxing as well.
Awesome.
Yeah. And that was 13, 14.
Right.
Yeah.
Where was it?
It was in, I'm from the Quad Cities.
Okay.
It's in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Davenport, Iowa is my hometown.
Nice.
But the Quad Cities is half Iowa, half Illinois. We're right on the border. And this gym was in Moline, Illinois.
Okay.
Yeah. We have a really good boxing program back home.
Yeah.
There were some world champions that came from our city and stuff.
Right.
So the culture's there,
Yeah.
It was cool. I didn't get into Muay Thai until I was in my 20s. I had a couple teammates who were talking about making a trip out to Thailand. And at that point in my life, I was kind of...
Did you guys have Muay Thai at that gym, or is it just basic kickboxing, or just boxing and...
It was like just boxing, and then there was jiu-jitsu before it, but it wasn't very formal. It was just a whole lot of rolling. Before I came here to NorCal, I can't really remember having too much like, time on the mat with black belts or anybody who's like,
Really?
teaching. Yeah.
Not till you got to NorCal? Because I've seen a bunch of your fights.
Yeah.
And I was like, that guy has no trouble on the ground.
Yeah. I was always a jiu-jitsu guy up until I kind of made the transition into Muay Thai. My goal was to use my jiu-jitsu to beat people and like prove that jiu-jitsu was number one. I liked jiu-jitsu tournaments, but I didn't like paying for them.
So you were kind of the Hoist Gracie of Iowa.
I'll take it. I like that, But I just didn't like the idea of having to pay to compete.
Right.
I was young, and so I was like, yeah, I'll fight and use my jiu-jitsu.
Nice.
Yeah, and after I had my first fight when I was 19, after a few years of training, I ended up fighting a kid from my hometown and broke my hand real bad, and we became training partners after that.
Nice.
And then him and his twin brother were in conversation about having a trip to Thailand. And like I was saying, like I was kind of in a point where I'm like looking into school or maybe a different route in life. And they reached out and they said, hey, we got this gym owner in Switzerland. He plans a trip to Thailand every year, and he kind of organizes it with international fighters. Reach out to him, if you're interested.
Yeah.
So I reached out, added him on Facebook. We started talking. He helped me get out to Thailand the first time. I was in Chiang Mai, which is in the northwest.
Yeah.
of Thailand, and I just completely fell in love with the culture and the respect and the theatrics behind it. Growing up in the Midwest, MMA was huge, but it was more of like a bro sport,
Like the
you
tap
know?
out, the tap out vibe
Yeah,
we were talking
Exactly,
about. Yeah.
Little
exactly.
Pantera playing in the gym. No Enya.
Yeah, and that's just not my vibe as
Yeah.
much.
You're more of an Enya guy, aren't you?
Much more of an Indian. Yeah.
My man.
Yep. You're one of us.
So I didn't spend long there. My first trip, maybe 4 weeks, and then I went to Switzerland for a bit afterwards and got to train at the gym there. Coming back to Iowa, I still fought in MMA a few times, but my interest just wasn't there. You know, I really wanted to dive deep into Muay Thai, and so I kind of just started doing research and planned a trip out to Thailand.
It seems like I hear that a lot, that dudes that go to Thailand to study Muay Thai just like fall in love with Thailand
Just disappear over
and just
there.
end up staying there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't come back.
It's very hard to want to come back. The only reason I ended up coming back was to sort my visa out. I wanted to do it legally, which you can get around it. You know, I just didn't know at the time. So I was there for a few months. I went to a city called Nong Khai. It's very rural. There's not a lot of tourism there. And I had a friend that I'd met in Chiang Mai that was training there. I didn't know anybody in Thailand at this point. I went by myself this time. And so I just went to his gym.
Did you go there with a plan? I mean, you know you wanted to go over there to train, but so you didn't really have a gym picked out or a program or anything? You were just kind of...
No, not quite. Like,
That's awesome, man.
I literally saved up enough money just for 1 month of living, but I was going to be there for a while because my mindset was if I put urgency on myself and put this pressure on myself to have to fight to get by, I'm going to rise to the occasion, you know what I mean? And
damn. That's awesome.
It was just I wouldn't do it again, you know. It wasn't very wasn't smart, you know. I was in a weird situation, and it's just not a safe thing to do to run out of money overseas, you know. But
it reminds me though of how they say that only like really hungry kids are the ones that end up making it in fighting, and so you like artificially kind of impose that upon yourself there, and it ended up giving you that drive to survive.
Right. And on that note, as you were describing that, I was like, this guy would have made a great punk musician. Exact same mindset. Like, we'll figure it out when we get there. I have no idea.
I like to just dive in with anything I do. I want authentic, real experience, and that's what I try to give myself. And it kind of backfired, honestly. Like I said, I brought in enough for the first month, and I just wasn't finding fights in Nong Khai. And so I started teaching at a learning center, and I was doing private tutoring for English just to get by.
Yeah.
Right.
I had one fight out there. It paid really well. It was on a holiday, the day after Christmas. It's Boxing Day in Thailand. And that's a funny story, that trip. But ultimately, Noah from NorCal saw it, and he reached out. He had a gym in Rawai, Phuket, down south. And we just kind of started talking back and forth, and he was like, hey, you know, I see you're American. I want to support fellow Americans in Thailand. He's like, what do you think about coming down here for a trip? And at the time I had like $50 to my name. I was like, dude, like, I can't afford Phuket. I can't afford the gym. I didn't know what the deal was, you know. And he's like, okay. He broke it down for me. He's like, you come here, you train hard, you fight for us, and we will provide accommodation. You can live in my house. I'll take care of training. I'll take care of food. So
awesome.
My basic needs were met, and it just came down to a decision. Like, I didn't know Noah. I had just met him online.
Yeah.
I'm not getting what I wanted out of Nong Khai. I wasn't fighting as much. I didn't want to teach. I didn't go there to teach English, you know.
Yeah.
And so I spent literally like the last of my money on a plane ticket from up north to the island down south. And I get there. I take a little cab to the gym. It was dark out. Nobody's there. I'm like, oh my God. Like,
what have I done?
Panicking, you know. And I'm getting my bags out of the trunk of the cab, and he pulls up with another fighter from Australia, and I'm like, oh. it's a huge relief, you know. And then I ended up living with him for a few months, fought every couple weeks. Tough training, really good.
Yeah, so and correct me if I'm wrong, but Muay Thai is a little different than how we experience like MMA fighters over here, where fighters tend to fight like a lot, right? Over there.
In Thailand?
Muay Thai, yeah.
Yeah. It's just so prevalent over there. Like their culture is a fighting culture.
Yeah.
It's what they do. Everybody, you know, it's similar to like football or baseball here.
Right.
Everybody knows it, and everyone knows the rules. And on the island that we were at specifically, there's maybe 6 or 7 stadiums, and they're doing fights almost every night. You know, so you got your choice. I didn't have any trouble finding fights there.
I remember had to go back to San Francisco for about a year, and it's happened to be next to a gym down there. And just the way the schedule worked out, I ended up just doing Muay Thai every single day. But I'd meet some of these Thai fighters, and they tell me what their record was. It's like, yeah, I'm like 93-16 or something.
Yeah.
Jesus. Holy.
And that's the thing. It's very common to see kids fighting professionally. The first gym I went to in Chiang Mai, we had a girl. She was maybe 13. It was a smaller gym. There's usually more.
Yeah.
But this one girl was living there, and she was an orphan. You know, she was living at the gym, sending her fight money back home to her parents. You know,
Wow.
And that's very common. You know, you see that. Parents will send their kids to a gym, and the gym takes them in. They get them to school, everything.
Wow.
And the kids fight professionally and send
Like
money.
boarding school.
Yeah. You know, and so that's how
Savages.
they have. Yeah, that's how they get 300 or 400 fights, because they're fighting professionally. No shin guards, no headgear from 6 years old. You know.
Yeah.
That can't be healthy.
No.
None of this is healthy.
Yeah.
Nothing we talk about on this podcast
Yeah.
makes
That's a
your
very
life
good,
better.
very good point.
Yeah, that went out the window. Episode 1.
Did you follow Noah to Santa Rosa then, or how did you guys both end up here?
So that's interesting, actually. Essentially, he was talking about coming to California and starting a Muay Thai program since I was back in Thailand with him. You know, it had been his goal, and you know, he's very good at networking, and I don't know exactly how, but he met Dave, and Dave happened to need a Muay Thai program.
Yeah.
And it just fit. You know, everything fell into place. He called me with the opportunity, like, hey, you know, let's run this. And at the time, I had a lot going on in my life back home. You know, I was in a relationship. I was kind of settled in back home, but this was what I needed to do. Like, this is what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of dropped everything and came here. And that was last year. And I was here from, like, I want to say up until November of last year. And then, or 2021. Then I went home. I had to deal with some things. And then eventually I was good to come back, you know, so.
I remember when you guys, oh boy, okay. I guess I'll say this, but I ruffled some feathers at the gym, and because someone had mentioned, like, doing a lot of Muay Thai lately. Like, yeah. They're like, why? I was like, you know what? I love both. I like just Muay Thai just a little bit better, and just
Awesome.
Like my side of my face is warm. Like, everyone's staring at me.
I said that out loud.
Whoops.
I'll take it.
But I remember
I like Muay Thai a little bit better than square dancing.
Good save.
Sorry.
then
What do
Enya.
you think I was talking about?
But I remember that there's always kind of some gaps at our academy and the Muay Thai, you know, some guys would kind of come and, you know, temporarily and go. And I remember when you guys showed up, I remember like walking the gym, all of a sudden, like I felt like I was walking into like Thailand almost. There's all these like Muay Thai guys hanging out. I was like, all of a sudden, like the whole thing became like super legit. It was awesome. Because as you, Noah, for a while he had that what's it, Dylan? Is that his name?
Dylan from Australia.
Dylan from Australia, yeah.
Reese was here.
Yeah.
That was just while I was here the first time.
Right.
After I left, we had Steve Cho, and then Eric from Ireland. He came, I believe. And that's I don't know if that's been it or not. I don't know. You know.
Yeah.
The first time I heard that guy Eric from Ireland speak, I thought he was Ukrainian or Russian. It's weird.
I've never
And
met
then-
him. Yeah.
Then someone said, no, he's from Ireland. And I was like, what? And then I heard him talk again, and I was like, oh. Okay, I guess he is. It was weird. Just the way his accent came across.
Yeah. No, that's the beauty of going over there is you meet so many people.
Right.
We've got a busy summer planned, and I'm stoked for it. We got a lot of guys in the works. Talking
Awesome.
about coming out.
Really? Coming here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome.
I can't share too much yet, but yeah, it'll be a busy.
Stay
summer.
tuned.
Yeah.
Nice, dude. Did Noah ever fight, or what's his story?
So Noah ran a gym. He helped manage fighters. I don't know
He
exactly.
seems to know what he's talking about.
Yeah, he spent 10 years over there, you know,
Yeah.
inside of gyms and stuff. The knowledge is it's there, you know.
Uh-huh.
I don't remember why he said he originally went out there, you know. I think he was just doing some traveling, and like you said, he fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And ended up staying for like 10 years and got into working with gyms, and you know, that's just how it unraveled.
Yeah. Well, we'll get him on and ask him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
He's on the list.
Yeah. I'm sure he's got some stories.
So, are you? What are your thoughts on fighting again? Because I remember talking to you last year,
Mhm.
and you're like, "Yeah, I think I'm like kind of retired." And then I'm like, "How old are you?" You're 26. I'm like, "Geez." Number one, boy, do I feel old. I was like, Wayne, what a testament to how just like physically grueling that lifestyle is. If at that age, you're like, I don't know my body. It's up to the challenge sometimes. You were saying that it wasn't so much as the fights, but the fight camps were just so rough on you.
Yeah. I just have a tendency to just overtrain. I don't. If I train, I'm training hard. I don't listen to my body.
I've noticed that.
You know, and I just wasn't smart about it. That's why I'm so on all of our students about stretching and
Right.
listening to your body, having days where you kind of go a little bit lighter, and just it doesn't have to be redlined every time
Yeah.
because I'm 28 now and like I'm in pain. You know, like my body's messed up. I'm always hurt.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to learn that lesson myself, and I'm 44.
It's
like-
a long learning curve, man.
Yeah.
You know.
It seemed to me like, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you're after that last fight that you took in Mexico, were you considering? I'll ask it this way: were you considering not fighting anymore before that fight came up, or did that fight have something to do with you kind of deciding that you were done?
So honestly, like it comes in waves, man. Sometimes I'm like really feeling it. Like right now, I want to fight. I do. It's a struggle.
It's got to never go away, right? I mean, those old bastards, like George Foreman and who did he fight recently? They're both not recently, but they're both like way too old to be fighting. It was just kind of sad. Like,
yeah.
But obviously that need to fight never goes away.
Yeah, and for me, it's always just been the reason behind why I fight has changed a few times. Currently, I just want to do it for myself. I just want to test myself, and there's so much that I have yet to prove to myself as far as fighting goes. And I'm not satisfied yet.
Right.
As far as like making a career out of it, I used to want to be a world champion. I used to want to, you know, my heights or my views were as high as possible. My goals were up there. But I just never was able to get into a gym and like, I just didn't put enough focus into like having a stable training environment.
Right.
You know, so it's always been up and down, and you know, so now I feel like if I fight, it's just for experience, just for myself.
Yeah.
But I want to put more energy and focus into building the next generation and the next generation, and
Nice.
giving them opportunities that I didn't have.
Right.
I trained by myself for a lot of fights. You know, in a garage. It's you know, you do what you have to do. But I just want to take the lessons that I learned and be able to do something with them for you know, future fighters and stuff. You know, that's my goal now.
Yeah.
There's a show in Tulum, Mexico in April. I'm kind of flirting with the idea of getting back on. It's
Is it full MMA or just Muay Thai?
just Muay Thai.
Just Muay
yeah.
Thai.
I would like to do MMA again, but for me, it's so hard to balance training jujitsu, training striking, teaching striking,
Yeah.
working. I work a full-time job now, so it's just it's a lot to try and balance. But Muay Thai, I can still get my own training in during class, if that makes
Right.
sense. It's less to focus on. It's one art compared to
Yeah.
All
a
the
mix. Yeah, yeah. So I think Muay Thai is much more realistic for me at this point in my life. Yeah.
Nice, man.
Yeah. Well, cool, dude. We should take a trip to Tulum.
I think we are.
If that happens.
Yeah, yeah, I'm down.
Hell yeah.
I'm on a good show for you guys.
Yeah. We'll corner you. Everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's do it.
Stop getting hit. Duck. You got it.
I'll call the promoter right now.
Yeah, I don't know if we have much to offer in terms of fight knowledge, but we definitely can bring some conspiracy theory analysis, maybe distraction for the opponent.
Yeah, we would name all the different combos that we work after different false flag events.
There we go.
We will do
There we go.
some deep dive.
Power 7.
They'll never see it coming. There we go.
Yeah.
Do some deep dive on your opponent, find out some dirt on him, get the media going after him.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Give
what
him
I
some
need.
sleepless nights before he fights you.
I like it. Unorthodox approach.
Absolutely. Do you are you so you were talking about the next generation and that happened to Dave, I think that in watching that, and I only know this from watching that documentary that came out recently.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, I did. I did watch it. Yeah, it was
Descent? No, something like that.
Descent of a Fighter or something.
Yeah.
Like that, which is very poorly titled.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's
I thought.
yeah.
Because when I first saw the title, I was like, I'm not watching this.
Yeah. That's exactly what I thought. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then you watch it.
Like it
and
seemed
it's
like it was gonna like just be like a slam piece,
right.
against him.
And you watch it, and it's done really well, and it has this awesome ending.
Yeah.
About how he, someone. Trying not to drop names, but someone pulls him aside and says, like, look, you can train this much and wreck your body, as you're saying, and come out with a fight and 10 grand, and then you got to pay your coaches and all this stuff. He's like, or you can open an academy, pulling like 40 grand a month.
Right.
And it has this montage of like him showing all these like the next generation and everything. And it's like super. It's like a great story.
I like
So
well.
why they titled it that?
Yeah.
It's like so
Yeah.
confusing.
No,
to me.
you could have had the opposite title. Ascent would have been
right.
Yeah.
More appropriate.
That's more. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Guy that was smart with his money and body.
and fell in love with his own family.
Right.
Most of the time when I have conversations with him, it's about family stuff.
Right.
It's not so much about fighting. And I was going to ask you if that is a family something that you eventually want to have, raise little fighters.
I don't know, man. Like right now, I'm just trying to.
We have a couple of potential contestants that we're surprised here. They're gonna come in.
Oh, whoa, okay. Honestly, right now, I'm just trying to focus on getting my life together. I'm just restarting out here. I'm very content with helping the kids' classes out and stuff.
Yeah.
That's like enough for me right now.
Yeah.
But maybe in the future when I'm a little more stable and I could be a better father.
You gotta
know what
be
I mean?
careful, man. You're helping those kids, and you got all those moms sitting there on the bleachers. Like,
Yeah.
he's so nice. He's so good with little Timmy.
Oh, tell me about it.
You got to deal with a lot of parents.
From time to time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mom heat, we call it.
A little bit. It's not too bad though. I manage.
So I'm curious. This is always something I'm interested in, and especially within like the context of training and stuff. Like, what was your experience with the whole COVID thing and the lockdowns? And I mean, because in theory that should include all gyms too, and people. You have to train with other people and all this stuff. So,
Yeah.
what was your kind of experience through that whole
So honestly, during the first part of COVID,
fake pandemic?
the fake pandemic. During the first part of that, I was growing weed in the mountains. I was
Oh, nice.
I was living far away from everybody. So
I hope you're wearing a mask.
I had a couple, just in case. Didn't want to infect any deer.
As a hunter, I appreciate that.
Yeah, but and then afterwards, I went back to Iowa, and I had a friend that I started a little gym with, and we
So this was right before, pretty kind of, well, fuck, it was what, 2 years long. I remember you guys came out over here kind of right after, like kind of in the middle of it, right?
yeah,
Was it?
yeah.
Okay.
So right when things were opening up, that's kind of when we came here. I think it was April of
For the first time?
2021. Yeah, yeah, to teach. Yeah, so I during the start of COVID, like 2020, I had went in with a friend and we opened a small gym back home. And
So let me ask you this: like, I don't want to derail your story because I had no idea that you used to grow weed in the mountains.
yeah,
But what I'm interested in the psychology of like how people's reactions differed within the terms of COVID.
Yeah.
And this whole pandemic thing, because what's interesting to me is that now we have the gift of hindsight that most people were listening to were fucking lying or completely full of shit. And what's the most interesting component of that kind of phenomenon is like why is it that me and my friends, like, second day into the pandemic, we're like, this is bullshit, masks are bullshit, like these lockdowns are bullshit, like we're not buying into any of this.
yeah.
And like it's not, we didn't get together and have a meeting and decide this, or like we certainly didn't see that on a TV program. You know, like here's another view of it. It's just, I'm interested in like people's individual psychologies and like how that differs from person to person, and how like you meet someone that was in a completely different part of the world, you know what I mean, or at least the country at that point, and like, why is it that some of us just came to this exact same conclusion without communicating to each other, or there wasn't like, well, according to my religion, this, you know what I mean? It's like completely independent, kind of a free thought experiment that I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, that's an interesting point about how people from different places with no contact form a similar idea. Yeah, who's to say what the reason is behind that? But I had a very similar outlook from the start. I had my own conspiracies about it, you know, and my own ideas. It seemed like they were trying to keep people inside, shut down small businesses, you know, and create a little bit larger gap. You know, I don't know. I just kind of just kept my mind away from it. And to be honest, my mind doesn't really stray too far from training. Yeah, I even at home, I'm watching fights and everything. So ultimately, for me, it became, okay, how am I going to train? You know, that's the only thing I was really focused on.
Well, I had an interesting conversation yesterday with one of our fighters, actually, and we were talking about what we're talking about right now. And he was talking about how grateful he was for our academy and that we have this place where we can all get together, and like how important it was during, you know, when all this nonsense was going on. And he, trying not to give up too many details here because I don't want to get anyone in trouble, but I said, I'm like, personally, I think that has a lot to do because it's a certain kind of personality that is going to go into a place like that, right?
Yeah.
And so you got to admit, it's going to be intimidating to the majority.
Of course, yeah.
And then to go in there and train, so you're kind of like already, you have eliminated, you know, X percentage of the population, just, you know, as a personality.
Stepping through the door,
I said, like, I think that had a lot to do because there's a similar kind of theme of like of the way that people think in there, especially within the context of the pandemic. It's like, well, a lot of it was, you know, we weren't, you know, Kelly and I weren't like getting together and like going through medical data about virus, you know what I mean? But it's just like, there's all this, we call it the walk out the front door test. I was like, well, there's some like fairly like simple things that you can there's some simple math you can do. So like one is, if I'm out here in the world and you're saying that I have to have a mask on and I have to stand on this stupid fucking red dot in the grocery store and my kid can't be in school and you can't go to the skate park and we're going to fucking put boards over the basketball hoops in the park and fucking put yellow caution tape around the merry-go-round. But I just came from a spot where I was literally rolling around in someone else's sweat for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I was like, someone's wrong. One of these situations is wrong. And it's like, you know, in said sweaty box with everyone rolling around on each other, it's like, no one here is sick and no one ever got sick and no one has been sick. So it's like, Yet I walk outside, everyone's telling me like, dude, there's like bodies in the street. You're like, I'm not buying it.
I think a lot of it, and this is just my mind, maybe conjuring up some reasoning behind it is maybe they were like trying to test controlling people through fear. You know what I mean? And
That
sounds kind of
basically you just summed up our podcast.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't think it was ever as serious, obviously, as what it was portrayed. And
Isn't it interesting though that everyone in our gym had that exact same reasoning?
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what are the things that the psychopaths in the corporate media demonize?
Mm-hmm.
What do you hear about a lot as being signs of toxic masculinity? Working out,
Mm-hmm.
training, doing all the stuff that
We were just going through some articles a couple weeks back that it was now they're talking about exercising is a form of political extremism, like being concerned about physical fitness.
Oh wow!
They said MMA is like the epitome of that, of like, potential like domestic terrorism.
the white supremacy,
wow.
basically. Yeah.
Fucking insane.
Wow, yeah.
I'm at the point now though. It's like I used to get in my mind. I'd have like these wars, like I can't believe these people. But now it's like they've gotten so outlandish and so over their skis with their narratives that it's just like funny. It's just like, like the best thing you can do to a stupid person, like just keep talking, dude.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna listen.
Just give them,
Just everything you think of, just let it come out of your mouth.
It's a sign that we're winning this, whatever this, perceived fight is. We didn't know there was a fight in the first place. They're the ones that have this fight going on.
Right.
And so they've defined the terms of the fight. It turns out we're winning.
Right.
And every time you turn on the news,
By not really doing anything.
they tell you that they're winning, and then they can't back that up with anything but the most ridiculous claims, like that Joy Reid clip that we did where she was saying that the left has won the culture war. It was just so silly.
Yeah.
And so you can't help but hear these idiots talk about that stuff and just know that they're wrong, they're lying, they're just making up their stories, and it's funny at this point.
It's really hard for someone to take the wrong way when they ask you, like, where do you guys get the content for your podcast? Like, we get a lot of stuff from The View, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm definitely not listening to your podcast.
Yeah.
Like, nah, it's not how it sounds.
No, I think that's right though.
It's that's weird. I don't know. There seems to be just telling people, training that you're into it or whatever, and you talk about. It's weird how some of these things that we always saw that we came up in different situations, but we all kind of came to the same spot by similar journeys. I'm guessing is that like I want you want to stay in shape. I want my cardio to be up. Physical fitness is like important to me. It's like as like a value, and like that's some of that stuff has become like a pejorative, which has been really interesting to me. Like it's bizarre.
It's because people taking charge of their own lives is a threat to a government that wants to have the people rely on them for all of their sustenance.
Yeah,
All of
absolutely.
their happiness,
Yeah.
everything. The government needs people to rely on them. So if you're self-reliant, and what's more self-reliant than teaching yourself how to fight or teaching yourself to be healthy? I mean, healthy people don't need health care.
Right.
They don't need government assistance.
Yeah, exactly.
They're independent, just by definition. So that is a threat.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a form of control, is keeping people under your thumb. You know what I mean? By just leaving them content with the bare minimum, making them feel like they're taken care of. They just don't really rely on themselves anymore at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that they're kind of. It seems from what you guys have been saying, they're like putting a real negative connotation on like working out or anything, like you said, that establishes individualism and like being able to take care of yourself.
Yeah, if
That's why the Second Amendment is so villainized.
if anything, you hit on a term, and that's the notion of individualism, which I think most of it comes down to is it's individualism, / self-sustainability.
Yes, yeah.
Is people see that as a problem, and I think a theme that's through this entire podcast is the notion of the individual, the statist, and the collectivist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just like we talk about. It's not a left versus right thing. It's definitely not a Democrat versus Republican thing. I mean, they're all the same people. Like all I don't want to get like sidetracked, but it's if you really boil it down to like what these, what the divide is, it's the difference between the individualist and the collectivist, and there's an irony between those two ideologies that we've talked about quite a bit, is that the individualists are always kind of on their heels a bit, which is interesting because they're the ones that are training to fight and have guns.
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of funny. But we, if you're more of a liberty-based kind of mindset, and you're going like, I don't care what you guys do. Like, just, I'm not part of it. Just me, I got my own thing going, and maybe I have this small kind of community. It could be at the gym or, people you like to shoot with, or maybe a farming collective, like whatever it is. And the difference between the individualist and the collectivist ideology is the collectivists are saying like, no, we need you guys to do what we're doing, because if everyone's not on board with the collectivist ideology, it fucking falls apart.
Yeah.
It's like and that's which is a perverted way to think in my mind, in my opinion. So
It's probably easier to control a herd than it is, a bunch of individuals. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and you think about it in terms of our gym. It's like all we want to do during COVID was just train, get together, and roll, and we had to do it kind of in secret. And
And I had
disease is such a perfect weapon to use against people, because you can just say, well, that's fine for you guys, but what if you go and you catch something from someone in the gym, then you go infect someone somewhere else with this mysterious kind of thing that it's like, you are not you anymore. You're not your own. You don't own yourself. We own you because you could infect somebody else out in public.
yeah.
Such a perfect weapon against people.
Yeah, and I'm in agreement with you, Ryan, which is kind of funny because we've never talked about this before, but I was like, this is absolutely being done intentionally. Yeah. It's a social experiment. And what's the most terrifying thing is that, we've got into on previous episodes is like, that was the fucking dry run. And it went off shockingly well. And, because we talked about the most terrifying component of that. It wasn't the virus. It wasn't your bullshit authoritarian jackboots, closing down beaches and making your kids not go to school. The most terrifying aspect of that entire fucking pandemic was that the people enforcing it on their neighbors and their friends and each other. And I had, people find out that I was training or whatever, or that I didn't get the vax and I wasn't going to wear a mask, and I was having because nothing changed. We watched it from the sidelines. I was like, I'm not missing work. We're still having barbecues every weekend. Like, we're still going to train. I'm like, I'm just ignoring this whole thing. And I had people that I'm not friends with to this day that say like, I can't believe you're doing that. It's like, I'm not trying to talk you into coming and training in our gym. Right. I'm just telling you, this is what I'm doing. Yeah. If you're uncomfortable with it, then just stay the fuck out of my house.
Right. Exactly.
And it's amazing to me like how that was so problematic for people to wrap their heads around. Yeah. It still is to this day.
Yeah, it's strange how it caused a lot of just separation, and it's interesting to see how willing people were to just follow directions. Yeah, you know what I mean, without question.
Well, that's the psychology of the statist. They're just like, we talk about like people like to wrinkle their nose at the notion of like religion, for example. I was like, everyone has that same innate capacity in their mind or in their soul for something bigger than themselves. Right. I hope you do, otherwise you're an egocentric asshole. But some people just fill that with the state, like, the political overlords, the political elites. Like, Gavin Newsom, tell me what to do.
Exactly.
While you dine out of the French Laundry. Like, stay in my house. Okay, got it. I'll start barking at my neighbor.
I think it's a lot easier to just follow directions for some people than to think for themselves, you know. But.
Right. I mean, we've talked about it before that, we're all basically hunter-gatherers that were thrown into this modern way of life. Yeah. Our brains, our bodies haven't evolved to even stuff like to eat like wheat, right? Or this, or to eat farmed food is kind of a new thing for us. And in the hunter-gatherer tribes, not everybody can be the chief.
Right. Yeah.
You need Indians too. So being a follower isn't necessarily a bad thing. Problem is that I think that gets hijacked for nefarious purposes, and it's easy to hijack when you use all this modern technology, like we talked about when the TV came into existence. Like all of a sudden, the amount of the size of government grew because the people in power were able to manipulate people to be like, yeah, we need more of this thing that the TV is telling us that we
Yeah.
need.
Yeah.
And then social media comes along and it just fucking just skyrockets. That ability to manipulate people is just out of control.
Yeah, yeah. It's a bigger platform, you know.
Yeah, and more like just kind of in your brain in a way. Like your TV sits in your living room, but your phone is, we all have them right here.
It's very
Next to
personal.
us,
Yeah, yeah.
you
it's
know?
up close and personal.
Yeah,
we
and it's personal too. Like, do you remember having an answering machine? Are you old enough to have had an answering machine in your house?
Yeah, yeah.
So it used to be that everyone in the house knew who was calling everyone else in the house because they would leave a message, or you would answer the phone. In my house, we had to say, when we answered, we'd say, Cowan residence.
Mhm.
We weren't allowed to just say hello. If my dad heard me say hello, he'd be like, what the fuck? Like, we don't answer the phone that way in this house, son. And then you would hear the messages and everyone knew. And now that you have the phone is personal. No one knows who's calling you. All of your interaction is very private. It's interesting.
It is interesting, yeah.
It's changed.
I thought what was interesting that and again, I'm always interested in like looking into like the psychology of like why things like what's that person, how's their brain work? Like how do they come to that conclusion? And we had talked about, in a couple episodes that I think this constant bombardment of fear porn, like in the media, and then the social anxiety being caused by social media.
Yeah.
And, like we talked about, like one kind of idea behind that is, especially if you're young, like we grew up, social media kind of plopped into the middle of our lives. So it's like we had life before social media, we had life after. And it's just like, so I have this kind of base of like, I know this is not reality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I spent half my life like this. Yeah, this didn't exist. So that, life didn't start, when Friendster came to fruition.
Right,
I
right.
probably just marked my age there.
Friendster.
Wow.
But I think,
Have you heard of that?
I have. Yeah, that's amazing. I haven't heard that in a long time.
I think if you're younger though, and you don't have that kind of little more of a legitimate base for things being more organic and in your face kind of based, is that anxiety gets ratcheted up by social media. And I've always thought that, like, I think for younger people, because if you're young, you're a little more unsure yourself, and you might be a little kind of insecure, and you're trying to follow your path, and you're looking at idealized versions of everyone's life, this romanticized version of life. And I think, I'm hard pressed to think, the data's out there, the rates of anxiety and depression and even suicide in young people is just skyrocketing.
Yeah.
In perfect kind of synchrony with the prevalence of social media and technology. And so it fosters this depression in people. They're looking at like, why is my life probably not this sweet?
It's just constant comparing, you know what I mean, and thinking about what I don't have, and of course you're going to be depressed if you're, thinking you're missing out all the time.
Yeah.
It's unhealthy. Yeah.
It's the devil. It is. It's the worst thing, especially if you're a kid.
There's something to be said, and kids don't have if you're given social media at a young age, you have no defense against it.
No.
Yeah.
But our parents were not given social media at a young age, and a lot of them are like super wrapped up in it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
as well.
Yeah. It's funny to see boomers like take to
Yeah.
Facebook. It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's awesome. My grandma's always on there. It's an interesting idea,
They I think about all that anxiety and depression, and I think about how the most significant event in my lifetime was the COVID pandemic. Before that, it was probably like 9/11. I remember that happening.
See the Challenger exploding?
The Challenger. I don't think I was. Oh yeah.
Don't remember it, huh?
No.
Okay, I'll tell you about it later.
There are some really interesting kind of psychological studies about just the way that COVID broke people's brains. Like it just tweaked them, and and you're trying to make sense of this irrational behavior. So when you're on the sidelines, as people like us are, we're like, I'm just kind of watching this. I'm not telling anyone what to do. I might not even have any opinions on this, but I'm not buying into it. And I'm going to do we're going to train, we're going to work, I'm going to grow weed in the mountains, whatever. And you cruise into town, and you see someone, people walking with a mask outside and a mask alone in their car and screaming at you because they find out you didn't inject yourself with experimental gene therapy.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
Like, and you go like, okay, there's something from someone on the outside because I'm not in this party. Like you guys are doing this thing on your own. Like I'm not part of it.
Yeah.
You watch it and you go like, the fuck is going on here?
Mhm.
Like, what? This is irrational behavior. This is not how normal people behave.
Not at all. No.
Yeah, and so this guy, his name is Matthias Desmet, proposed this notion that we have just as natural human beings have all this free floating anxiety in our population, and then that gets ratcheted up. I mean, I'm hard pressed to think of an argument against that. Our society and our culture has become profoundly more mentally unstable and sick.
Yeah.
I mean, just
And go back to the idea, the free floating anxiety, because I need a refresher.
right.
What does he say about that? That it's something that's there because we are replacing. We don't actually have to worry about lions on the plains.
That wasn't Matthias Desmet. That
Okay.
was Sebastian Junger, I think.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, in Tribe,
right.
like he talked about.
But what about
What Matthias Desmet had said is that we already, as a natural phenomenon, because as Kelly was mentioning earlier, it's like we, human beings for whatever, how many thousands of years or whatever, we're more or less the same. And then you see the institution of technology and just skyrockets this insane like graph, or like all of a sudden our caveman lizard brain is like adapting to things changing at such a rapid rate and is producing kind of this weird anxiety. And then you get something like social media, it gets ratcheted through the roof. So naturally we already have this free floating anxiety floating around. And what he proposed is when you see this bizarre, irrational behavior as it pertains to the COVID, when you institute something like you disrupt people's life with like this spike of fear, which was already kind of bubbling underneath the surface, or circus.
Freudian
Circus is
slip
scary.
there.
Maybe hate clowns. Circus is terrifying. They need something. They need a locus of control in their lives, and that's what it's ritualistic behavior. So it's like if I'm wearing the mask, I have a visual representation that I still have my hands on the wheel of life. Even though, I'm emotionally completely falling apart inside. I'm just racked with anxiety and fear and depression or whatever. This COVID thing has made it worse. And so I need to signal to the rest of the tribe that I'm with you. And so it's a visual representation of obedience. I wear the mask. I need to see my neighbor wearing the mask. Like, I got the vax, you got the vax, right?
Right,
And
right.
So then you'd have like random people walking up. I'd have random people, I'd walk the store like, get shot yet? Like, fuck off.
Right.
How's that your fucking business? You been to the dentist lately? But how fucking weird? That's a weirder question, wouldn't you say? Like,
You think people that are still wearing masks around town, when they like pass each other, they give each other like the silent kind of like nod, like, "Yep,
it's like,
we know."
it's like the
We know.
burned out
Right,
hippie,
right.
burned out hippie seeing another guy with tie dye, like, ah,
Yeah.
Still.
Keep it up, brother.
Yeah, it baffles me to still see people, especially in their cars alone, wearing a mask.
What it is. It has nothing to do. And this is,
I can't get used to it.
this is from
It's so stupid. It's been stupid since day one. Everyone knows it's even people that wear masks know it's stupid.
right.
And you still keep seeing it, and it still just fucking baffles me.
Yeah.
Well, this is ironic because this, if we're gonna run a stereotype, this comes from the follow the science crowd. And it's like, you explain to me the science of this. And you go, there is no science. They're not worried about COVID. They're not worried about it. It's a political statement.
Exactly.
They're making a virtue signal. They're signaling to the rest of the tribe. I think that's half. The other half are friends that I lost that decided to bark at me for not wearing a mask. And they were fucking wrong.
Right.
Right now that, I mean, that's science is settled. It came out in your fucking beloved New York Times.
Yeah.
This is a shithole of fucking information. And it said like, there's no evidence supporting that masks ever work. And so these people are like,
How could it?
Like,
Yeah.
Right.
the journal.
Unless you're wearing like a fucking Soviet gas
Right.
mask
Yeah,
with a
yeah.
canister
Yeah.
on it, or a respirator at least, then how could it?
So I think
Air is blowing out the side of your mask.
See your nostril, like it's
Yeah.
just-
well, that's the math we did in the very beginning, because I've had conversations with people. And I'm like, look, we were fucking right. And they say like, well, you weren't right. You were lucky. I was like, no, we were fucking right, because I'm not a doctor. You are a doctor?
I
You're not?
was. I
Okay.
used to be,
You're a
yeah.
contractor now.
Yep.
Okay.
Change careers.
You're not. Okay. So
No.
Okay. So we got one doctor here.
Well, I used to be.
So we said that I was like, it doesn't come down to someone being a genius. It comes down to lay out the facts. What are the facts? And in the very beginning, like let's say, because everyone says like, well, they didn't have the information back then. I'm like, we didn't have the information either, and we somehow got everything right.
No, we had
So
logic.
So what I say is like,
It's common sense.
yeah. So well, how do you know? I'm like, it's the walk out the front door test. It's the very, very common sense. It's like, is this virus so deadly you have to wear a mask? Yes. Okay. Can I just loosely tie a bandana around my face? Like, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Therefore, the masks don't work. This virus is not that fucking deadly.
Yeah. It's just.
It's obedience. It's subjugation. It's control. It's getting people to bend the knee.
Exactly.
That's what it all came down to.
Yeah. How.
And,
Other than that, I don't really have any thoughts about
it
it.
goes to that idea of self-reliance too. Like if you are relying on yourself to do very simple math, or also known as logic, then you're a threat, and so that has to be demonized.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're going against the herd. You're going against the collectivism.
People like
the collectivism only works if every single person is on board. That's why if you got that 10%, they're going like, I got some questions here. Is you fucking asshole? Like you're a bad person. You're grandma killer. White supremacist, domestic extremist, everything. It's ridiculous.
And you hit the nail on the head when you said it was more about. It's no longer about you. It's about what your choice is affecting other people with not wearing a mask, and how they kind of brought that guilt trip onto people, and made them out to be some asshole, if they didn't comply.
Yeah,
I had that. I had people I thought were friends.
Yeah,
tell me that.
likewise. Yeah.
I said, all right, fair enough, man.
Ryan, what percentage do you think of fighters or people who train got vaccinated?
Willingly, probably not many. I couldn't see many.
Meaning, like they would have done it for their job.
Yeah, yeah. Or to travel to fight or whatever the reason may be. But
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
yeah, I don't see. I don't know. Who's to say though? Fighting attracts people from all different walks of life and different mindsets. So
What do you think about in our gym?
probably not many. I don't see many.
What do you think, Matt?
Definitely much lower. So to kind of dovetail into something you said, Ryan.
Feel free to name names too.
Let's go with who we know for sure.
Yeah.
It's going to have heart problems in the next few years.
Well, you get hit square in the chest a
It's-
lot.
well, I think-
with a-
yeah, it's interesting as a conversation in looking at basically a self-selecting population and how it pertains to said behavior, and we're talking about who take the vax. It's like I think it has a lot to do with also like what was that person's kind of perspective and behavior during the COVID pandemic, especially as it pertains to the beginning when we didn't have any information, is already from said population. You're talking about people that are okay with walking into, I mean, let's face it, going into an MMA gym and the bulk of people like, we're going to have a simulated death match Tuesday night, and then we're going to shake hands. I'm going to go home. I'll see you back again tomorrow.
Right.
It's, there's not a lot of people are going to be into that. But what I'm getting at is you are looking at the relationship of what's your relationship with risk. And so you have a lot of people, probably, well, the three of us, and all of our friends, like, if most of my friends are from the academy, like, that's why my social circle is like, I don't care about this virus.
Yeah.
Like day 1, day 2 of it, it's like, I don't know, is it, even have guys like, I don't even think it exists.
I never bought into it too much, but I had a few really close friends that I wouldn't expect buy into it, bought into it, and it's interesting the division that causes. Like you said, you've lost friends, and I have too, and it's interesting how the division occurs. That's what I always thought was really interesting and significant about it.
I think it also, as far as trying to dissect the psychology, is that I think we have a lot of kind of wayward souls in our culture, people that just are insecure with their place or their path and not really sure where they're going. And I feel that it kind of having this inordinate goal or this this larger than life situation that we had to come together with is it gave people this kind of like Potomkin village like purpose in their life. Where it's just like, yeah, I have this thing that I can concentrate on, like, and I'm immediately accepted into this community now because I got the mask on, and we can look at each other and like, okay, we're all yelling at these people, they're not wearing the mask, for example. So
We're all in this together.
yeah, I think it gave people kind of a false sense of purpose, which is just fucking really, really sad.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that just going back to the gym thing, it's really if you commit and pay money to go to our gym, you're committing to doing something that's really, really difficult.
Mhm.
I don't think it's the danger as much that selects for the gym, because it is a simulated death match, but it's actually very, very safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're, as far as stepping in on day one, by what I meant, it's like you have a certain relationship with the concept of risk, because if you tell people, think of all the people not in your life now, because most of them are from the gym now, but of like walking out and like, I'm gonna ask 20 people like, hey, do you wanna give Muay Thai a try? Like, we're gonna do some light sparring. Like, no,
Right.
absolutely not. And you could go like, and it is
Right,
safe.
but
It is safe. We know how to do it where we're not, you never want to like injure someone, and
Right.
you have an agreement with someone. It's like, we're doing this it's a mutual benefit.
Well, and jiu-jitsu is probably even safer.
Yeah.
You have
Oh, yeah.
no chance of getting, very little chance of getting kicked in the head. I mean, it does happen in jiu-jitsu, but yeah. So to carry on, I mean, it's you're asking people if they want to do that. No, but it's not about the danger, because those same people would try surfing or try rock climbing, which is way more dangerous. I mean, even soccer, and I was going to bring up soccer, is way more dangerous, I think, than rolling. It's just not as hard.
I've blown my knee out twice in soccer and only once in jiu-jitsu.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
Your chances of actually getting in a
statistics guy.
your chances of actually getting in a fight are higher in soccer. I'm not saying they're high, but you're never going to get in an actual fight at jiu-jitsu. I mean, it does happen. I've heard of it happening. I've never seen it happen.
This is funny. So
I've seen plenty of fights in
Ryan,
soccer.
I got to tell you a story. Do you know how I ended up training?
No, you never told me.
I was a soccer player my entire life, like groomed as a kid by my parents, me and my brother, like to be like, you guys are gonna be soccer players. My parents played soccer, like we were like a soccer family.
Nice.
Played my entire life, and I was in a B division team with my brother down in the Bay Area. Super competitive, like semi-pro. Everyone was college player. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like super, super competitive. And I came up, and Kelly actually is like, let's throw together an indoor team. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll play more soccer. And he throws together this indoor team, and since we were a new team, it was like C division, and which is like, and I remember someone telling me, my brother going, you're gonna do like C division indoor? I'm like, yeah, it's just like more soccer. He goes, careful, man, it's rough. I'm like, why? He's like, there's two kinds of people. It's guy who used to be good and didn't stay in shape, or it's dude that was never good and just has like a chip on his shoulder.
Right, yeah.
It's gonna happen. And
or he's an athlete. He's like, I'll try soccer at 37, like me.
yeah. And everyone drinks before the game.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, but we happened to be playing this one game. There's this huge guy, and he was just a fucking bully, and he was just cleaning everyone's clock, and it was like getting more and more tense. And I had like,
Yeah, it's like the prison division.
yeah, I'd like got in the guy's face. I was like, hey, dude, fucking mellow out. Like, like, you know what I mean? This is a fucking rec league soccer game.
Right.
Everyone's got to work in the morning. I was just like, you're being a fucking asshole. And,
Right.
And then in the second half, me and him were going for a ball. In an indoor soccer, you have walls. It's like a hockey rink where, and this dude just veered off the wall and just straight like hockey checked me in the plexiglass. But in my defense, I fucking bounced right off the ground. I had my fucking hands around that dude's neck.
Yeah, there you go.
Throwing punches. I was so upset that I was waiting for him in the parking lot after the game, and I just was gonna kill this guy. I was so upset. But what I was mostly upset about is that he had got my goat. It's like, because I'm not like aggressive person. Like I don't like starting. I definitely don't start fights. I don't like fighting. But this dude was such a bully. It was like the balance of the universe was like askew if this guy didn't get his ass kicked.
Right,
Which
yeah.
is what I was upset about. But anyway, we came back to that soccer rink used to be right next door to our academy.
Oh, okay.
Where the moving company is?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
And I was going to my next game, and I was with my wife, and I'm sitting in the car, and I'm like, I'm still upset about that guy. And if I see him, like, I still want to fight him. And it's like, I don't like having that feeling. It's like
Yeah.
super negative. You know what I mean? It feels like destructive.
It's heavy, yeah.
And I just like, I looked over at NorCal at our academy, and like, I'm gonna go check it out. And that's the last day I played soccer, pretty much.
Oh, wow. Awesome, man.
Except he pulled me out of retirement, and I fucking blew out my knee again.
Dang.
Every time I've pulled him out of retirement, he's blown out his knee.
Well, don't come out of retirement, man.
No. His wife won't let him.
And this is the funniest thing because you always meet people in our academy,
Mhm.
and they're like, "Yeah, I wish I could train more, but my wife is like not into this whole thing." The older people with
Oh,
families,
yeah,
or whatever.
yeah.
And when I blew my knee out that second time in soccer, is my wife came home and started yelling at me. She goes, "Look, fighting, jiu-jitsu, that's it. None of this soccer shit. Like
None of this
you
dangerous
wow.
soccer stuff.
That's
I
unexpected.
was just had my knee all iced up. I was like, well, there's a conversation a lot of husbands don't hear for
Yeah.
Right. Hey, there you go.
Speaking of injuries, what's your worst injury from fighting?
Probably my hand. My third MMA fight, I broke my left hand. It's my dominant hand. I'm left-handed, and I broke the first bone right here, in my thumb bone as well. I dropped the kid. He was laying down on his back, and I tried to throw an overhand left, and he moved, and I hit the mat.
Really?
Yeah.
You'd think his head would be a worse thing to hit than the mat.
I would have loved to have found out, but I missed. I still ended up winning the fight.
Did you know right at the moment? You're like, ooh, fuck.
Well, I came into the fight with a thumb injury anyway, and as I established side control, I was trying to throw some punches, and it didn't feel good. So I transitioned over to a key lock, and I got the submission. But then walking backstage, I was high-fiving people and everything. I could feel the bone like moving, and
Ooh.
they went to the hospital. My opponent was like, it's probably not broken. You're new at fighting. It might just be swollen. It's like, dude, it's broken, and went to the hospital, got checked out, had surgery a few weeks later, and they actually messed up the surgery. They intended to only use pins instead of screws and plates, and as they were inserting a pin, it went inside of my bone, of the broken bone, because it was like off course, and it broke off, and I still have a pin inside my bone.
Oh, wow.
Fucking assholes.
Yeah. So then they had to put a plate and 6 screws in there, which is still in there as well, and
Does it give you a little bit more like thump?
No. My hand's a little bit weaker. It took a lot of rehab and
Really?
trial and error, and I've heard it a lot. I just re-injured it
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago sparring.
Damn.
It's been a pretty consistent on and off.
Is it something they can fix still?
They told me they would have to re-break it and take everything out, and it would just be a mess. It would be a really tough process. Just as was, it took me about a year in between fights, from the time I broke it to the time I made my return. So, and then it still bothers me. It's the only time I've had surgery. Yeah, that's probably the worst one. I've broken my nose, broken my other hand. A lot of concussions. Those are probably my least favorite injury. They're the most detrimental, I think, and the main reason I want to stay away from fighting.
Yeah.
But as far as broken bones and stuff like that, it hasn't been too bad.
Oh man, that sounds brutal. Can you sue them for fucking up that surgery?
So I don't think I can, because they had me sign a waiver right afterwards. Like literally, like right when I woke up, I was still under anesthesia a little bit, and they're like, "Here, we messed up."
Fucking
Yeah.
assholes.
Yeah.
Wow.
And how old were you?
19.
Nobody was in the room with you to like
I was
your
really out of it.
parents or.
I think my grandma and my mom were in and out of the room, but I don't know if they were in there at the time. I'd have to ask. I don't
So,
remember.
in case, I'm sure most people that are hearing this well, maybe not. Maybe people don't know this, but never leave someone alone in the hospital that you care about, because there's so many times that you need someone to vouch for that person.
Yeah.
They're not going to be with it. What they basically like fucked you over
Yeah.
by
big
having you
time.
sign that.
And then made me, made
Right?
me really.
I mean, you already had the surgery done.
Mhm.
It's like, no, fuck it, I'm not signing it. What are you gonna do? Undo the surgery?
Right.
Like, fuck off.
And I wasn't
Right.
thinking. I was
Of course
all
not.
out
You
of
were
it, you know?
just barely conscious.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Never leave people alone in the hospital.
learned that the tough way, you know.
God damn.
Yeah, it sucks, you know, but I got to live with it. It's part of fighting, you know.
It's also something that you can bring to the table with the people that you're training and like you were talking about, the next generation.
Yeah.
Like if someone goes in for something like that, you'll be able to tell them how to handle
Exactly.
not just situations in the ring, but
Outside
when you're in the hospital.
And that's the main thing,
It's
you
important.
know.
Yeah.
We got a few younger kids. They're like 17, 16. They're coming up, training like crazy.
There are some kids over there that I think I was telling you. I was like, God, I was looking over at some of these kids. They're like perfect. Like,
Yeah,
their
yeah.
technique is so smooth. I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm enjoying them watching as like a spectator.
Right.
They're getting so good and so smooth.
It's amazing to see. I've never experienced it. And just seeing the transition of culture, like you guys were saying, there was no Muay Thai
Yeah.
before. Now we see people wearing Muay Thai shorts and
I did,
you know, coming
I
up to
remember
us.
that was one of the things that I noticed when you and Noah showed up. As within like a week, I walked in and there's all these dudes wearing Muay Thai shorts and like no shirts, and they're all just sitting cross-legged in the ring. I'm like,
Wearing the
like
headgear.
if they all showed up here on those tiny mopeds, like
I got one of those tiny You know, that's what I'm proud about is the changing of the culture. But a lot of these
I
young
think it's so awesome, man. It's
It's-
really, really cool.
It's neat to see. I've never experienced it before.
Yeah.
But a lot of these young kids are so stubborn, and
Yeah.
they think they can train through injuries and do this and that. And I was one of those kids, and now I'm like, that's my main goal, is to prevent that, you know, and
Totally.
teach them to think. And
Yeah, you have the experience. They have to know that what you're talking about, it comes from a place of experience.
and some things you can only know when you go through it. You know, I could speak until I'm blue in the face to some of these guys, and they just won't get it until they get into
Yeah,
it.
that's true.
You know, but I try.
Well, the smarter ones will get it.
Well, we're back to the self-selecting population. I mean, it's a certain personality that's going to walk in there and decide like, I want to be a fighter.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
Yeah.
there's something, you know what I mean? We got some unique brain chemistry going on, you know, as our selective base for our study.
I hear that a lot, and that's always a statement that kind of gets me when people come and say they want to be a fighter. You
Right.
know, I take it very serious, and there's an easy way to just to wean them out and see how serious they are. And
Yeah.
you learn who is about it and who's just wants attention. You know. Yeah, if I see people that are serious, I give them everything. You know, I try and I want to do my best to make sure that they grow as best they can. You know, but not everybody's about it.
Yep.
So the world is right.